Welcome to our annual recruiting spectacular at Tuscaloosa News, Tidesports.com. Alabama's most wanted, the top 50 recruits in the state of Alabama. I'm Chris Rattey, and with me, our recruiting specialist, Tuscaloosa News and Tide Sports, Scout.com's Andrew Bowen. How are you?
All doing great today. It's been a long summer.
I can imagine. Now, we were talking before you came in here. It never slows down. And in fact, at times that you think it might slow down, it probably picks up for you.
You know, everybody always asks me, what are you going to do now that recruiting season's over with, signing day's passed, what are you going to do? And I said, every single recruit that y'all know of, we are finding them as soon as signing day hits. And when it's gone, we're out on the road trying to find the next Julio Jones, the next DeMarcus Milner. We're trying to find those guys, and it's a great job. It's fun, and but we're always out there on the road.
And it's sure you're looking at the 2010 class now, but your eyes are always set down that road because you don't know what freshmen. I mean, there's probably some junior high kids that pop up. I mean, I don't know what Tennessee's got in mind or anything. I won't put you on the spot with that.
Well, I mean, you're looking when you're going to schools, looking at guys that are going to be in next year's class. You're also asking the coach, who does he have for the next year's class, and possibly years down the line, and we always get they always give us new names, new highlight videos and stuff like that, and those are guys that we're going to keep an eye on. Even when we go to high school football games in the fall, we find we're going there to watch one certain recruit, and then we end up finding another recruit possibly on a different team, but we're always looking for that next top recruit.
How long have you been doing this now, specifically online?
Let's see, I have been doing this now. I guess this will be I believe this is going to be my 7th year. This upcoming August will be my 7th year.
So you've been through this whole, I don't even want to call it a transition because it was a birth of the recruiting element online. Now just talk about, before we dip into all this stuff and we start talking about names, discuss the evolution of recruiting online and the traffic that it's
it was never really that big when I was in high school. Maybe it was. I just didn't pay attention to it. I know a lot of people didn't pay attention to it that much when I was in high school. But after kind of that 2003 year going into 2004, it really got just so big with the online recruiting websites and everybody wanting to know what's going on. I mean, we send out text messages every time a player commits to a certain school, and I mean, it's just gotten crazy. I mean, you've got all the internet, websites out there like Facebook and Twitter that people can just stay in touch with the recruits just nonstop, and it's become just a big fad in the United States with recruiting. I mean, people take off. On signing day, people take the day off work just to sit on the internet to see what recruits are going to commit to their school. So it's become really exciting.
It has become an event, especially on Tide Sports. Through that one day is a spectacular 24-hour event. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the top 10 recruits. We have, again, Tuscaloosa News on July 4th is coming out with the overall 50. They got capsules for each player. We've got stories on some of the main ones. So we're going to touch on the top 10. But before that, talk about this 2010 class in Alabama. Some of the strengths. So what do you see position-wise bubbling up as in this year's 2010 recruiting?
Strongest position, without a doubt, is linebacker. There are several linebackers in the state of Alabama this year, a lot that have received offers from major BCS level schools. I mean, we've got several that are in the top 10. Actually, I believe we got 3 in the top 10 right now that are just big-time linebackers with Joara White, Ladarius Owens, and C.J. Mosley. And that's a really strong unit. There's also the defensive back position, which is also another great unit. 2 guys in the top 10 with Nick Perry and also DeMarcus Milner in the top 10. So those are your 2 strongest positions in state this year. In terms of overall talent, everybody always says, I think a lot of people look back at Julio Jones' senior year, and that was kind of one of the best years in recruiting. I mean, there was just so much talent, so many players that signed at BCS level schools, and this year there's going to be a lot of talent. It probably isn't at that same level, but as you go on, you find more prospects every day. You always find maybe 1 or 2 more kids, and everybody says the talent level is down. Well, it's down in the sense of, is Alabama going to offer that player? And now another SEC school could offer them, but will Alabama offer them? Now, Alabama's already probably only offered about 8 in-state kids this year in comparisons to last year and the year before, where they would offer about 15, 16 guys in-state. And this year they've only offered about 8, but schools like Auburn and LSU and Georgia, Tennessee have come in and offered a lot of the kids that Alabama hasn't.
Mm-hmm. So let's get right into it. Top 10. We're going to start with number 10, Joara White. also goes by Rah-Rah.
Rah-Rah, yeah.
Charles Henderson High School out of Troy, 6'2", 215-pound linebacker, a Scout.com 3-star recruit. He's an Auburn commitment currently. Right. And here's what we know. White had 88 tackles in 2008, 1 interception, 6 caused fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 5 batted balls, 4 sacks, and 1 defensive touchdown. He also rushed for 410 yards and caught passes for 375 yards, scoring 7 touchdowns. He averaged 25 yards per punt return and 28 yards per kickoff return. What do you know about him?
Well, now White, he's one of the most underrated players in the state. Even though he's a top 10 recruit in the state, he's a terrific athlete, very fast. I mean, he runs the 100 meters on the track team, and also does a couple other things on the track team as well. But he's just an incredible talent. I like him a lot. He had several offers, including Alabama. Committed to Auburn. Grew up an Auburn fan, but really kind of looked around at some schools like Alabama, Florida State, Tennessee before making a decision, and just ended up committing to Auburn just a few weeks ago. And he's real happy with his decision. I don't think he's going to end up looking anywhere else. I think he's solid with Auburn right now.
Okay, number 9, Ladarius Owens, Jess Lanier High School, 6'3", 225 linebacker, a Scout.com 3-star recruit. He's considering Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida State, and LSU. Owens finished his junior season with 92 tackles, 18 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. He's a nephew of the first African-American scholarship football player at Auburn, Jesse Owens. What do you say about him?
Hey, Ladarius is a guy that I can definitely see end up possibly moving into that top 5 in the next round of rankings. I'm really looking to see how he does his senior year. He plays defensive end. Kind of reminds me a lot of Jarrell Harris when Jarrell Harris was in high school. Jarrell Harris, they've had him on the edge, rushing the passer every single time, but Jarrell ends up playing linebacker in college, and Ladarius Owens will play linebacker in college as well. Very quick. I mean, he can chase down just about anybody on the field, and very athletic guy. Very strong guy as well. He can take on those big old offensive linemen and just push them back. And right now it's a 2-horse race right now between Alabama and Auburn. I know the LSU's in there as well. The family connections at Auburn, I think that that's going to weigh heavy in his decision. And I do think he'll make a decision probably before the end of the summer. I think that right now Auburn definitely has the edge for him.
Okay. Number 8, Nick Perry, Prattville High School, 6'1", 190-pound safety, a Scout.com 3-star recruit. Alabama commitment. What we know is Perry recorded 37 total tackles in 2008, 22 solos, 1 tackle for a loss, 6 deflections, 4 picks, returned for 72 yards, and a touchdown. What do you have to say about him?
Another outstanding football player. One of those guys that, a defensive back in that top 10 that, I really like a lot. I got a chance to go and watch him at his spring game against Pelham this year. And, not Pelham, Spain Park. And he did a great job out there. He's very physical. He can come up against a run. He's also great in pass. And, I think he's going to be an excellent pickup for Alabama. A guy that, is physically ready to probably play in the SEC right away. A 6'2", 6'1", 6'2" guy that's already 190, 195 pounds. And, also in a great program like Prattville. And, those coaches are definitely going to have their kids ready for the next level.
Number 7, Solomon Patton, Murphy High School, out of Mobile, 5'8", 175-pound wide receiver, a Scout.com 4-star recruit, a Florida commitment. Finished his junior season with 845 yards receiving for 12 touchdowns, added 1 kick return for a score, rushed for more than 200 yards, and totaled more than 300 yards on special teams. What do you say about that?
Solomon's he's a special talent, very fast, and one of the quickest players that I've seen. He's got great hands. His hands are huge. I mean, I put my hand up next to him, and my hand just kind of was just engulfed by the size of his hands, and he's a 5'8" guy. And, he was on our 7-on-7 team that we took down to Tampa this past spring, and he was just excellent down there. Nobody could stop him. He's going to fit perfect in Urban Meyer's offense.
We're going to move on to number 6, Corey Grant, Opelika High School, a 5'10", 190-pound running back, a Scout.com 4-star recruit, considering Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Grant had 88 carries for 724 yards and 14 touchdowns, added 16 receptions for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. What do you say about Corey Grant?
Well, I got a chance to see Corey during his junior season. Very fast guy. I mean, he can do it. He can take it the distance on a kickoff return, punt return, catching the ball out of the backfield, running the ball, just do anything. I know that right now his top 3 schools, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and he could possibly be a commitment to one of those schools before this even gets released, because he's really on the verge of making a commitment. He's still saying that it's neck and neck between those three schools, and he's probably going to make a decision before the start of the season. I got a chance to see him last week in a 7-on-7 camp, and he was unstoppable. I mean, they just throwing the ball, and he just go up there and get it very fast, very quick, and definitely a game changer.
Number 5, C.J. Mosley out of Theodore High School, a 6'3", 220-pound linebacker. Scout.com 4-star recruit, considering Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, LSU, and Tennessee. Mosley finished his junior season with 176 total tackles with 115 solos, 61 assists, 17 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 4 caused fumbles, 2 fumbles recovered, and 2 picks. All-around kind of guy. What do you think about C.J. Mosley?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, C.J. had a big junior season. He also had a big sophomore season, and he got on the radar real early, and a lot of schools offered him pretty early. And he's a guy that he's going to end up coming down to the in-state schools, I believe. Alabama and Auburn are right there with him for a while. Alabama, he's been telling me that Alabama's been the school that's been recruiting him the hardest out of all the schools. I don't know when he'll make a decision. He kind of saying that he doesn't know, so he can make a decision before the season or after the season. So we'll just have to wait. But he's a guy that can come up, fill up the hole. He can run sideline to sideline. Just an overall great athlete.
Number 4 on our list, Jalston Fowler from Vigor High School, a 6', 250-pound running back, a Scout.com 4-star recruit, an Alabama commitment. Fowler had 139 carries for 1,085 yards and 15 touchdowns during his team's Class 5A championship season. Also caught 27 passes for 391 yards and scored once. He will miss the 2009 season due to age, ineligibility, and plans to enroll at Alabama in January. What do you have to say about that guy?
Well, we had a tough time trying to decide whether or not we were going to include Jalston Fowler in the Tuscaloosa News top 50 or even the Scout.com top 50 in the state of Alabama, just because he wouldn't be playing his upcoming season. But he's just too good of a talent to not include in there. I mean, he's going to be graduating high school in December, enrolling at Alabama in January. Just a physical guy. I mean, he's 6 foot, 245 pounds, and he can dunk a basketball. So that shows just how athletic he is. And he had a big junior season, but I guess we could call that his senior season. But he's a great player. He was recruited by Alabama to play running back. He's up to about 250 pounds. He'd like to get down to about 235 and be a big running back in Alabama's offense.
Number 3, Craig Sanders out of Ayrton High School, a 6'4", 250-pound defensive end, a Scout.com 4-star recruit, and another Alabama commitment. This is what we know. Sanders, he rushed for over 1,000 yards on 121 carries with 16 touchdowns in only 7 games. Also caught 13 passes for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. Accounted for 90 tackles, 71 solo, 32 for loss. The list goes on. Bowen says he's a freak. Talk more about Craig Sanders.
He plays at a 1A school, but he can do it all. I mean, he can run the ball, he can catch the ball, he can tackle, he can play safety. I mean, he can just flat out do it all. He's just a physical freak. Very athletic guy, very aggressive guy. He's got the size and speed that most players that play at the 6A level, wish that they had. And he's just a great player. A lot of people say, well, he's at a 1A school, then he's not going to be. There's no way he'll be ready for the college level. But if you look at him, you look at the way he plays, you definitely see a guy that's going to be probably an immediate impact type player at Alabama. He committed to Alabama over Florida a couple of months ago, and expects to come in and fill that jack linebacker spot for Alabama.
As we move into the number 2 spot, Jarek Williams out of Blunt High School, 6'1", 205-pound safety, a Scout.com 4-star recruit, another commitment to Alabama. And what we know is that Williams played in 9 games as a junior, recording 94 tackles, 1 for loss, 2 forced fumbles, 8 pass breakups, 2 picks, and a blocked field goal attempt. He added 9 receptions for 206 yards and 4 touchdowns. He committed to UA over Clemson, Florida, Florida State, LSU, and Oklahoma. Talk about number 2 guy, Jarek Williams.
Jarek just committed to Alabama just last week, and a very physical guy. 6'2", 205 pounds, can play the pass, can come up on the run. Just a great specimen. Plays under Kelvin Sigler, who played here at Alabama, and Kelvin Sigler has just had high remarks for Jarek. One thing Jarek could, he told me one thing Jarek could work on is his speed a little bit, but he said he's got all the tools to be ready to play his freshman year at Alabama.
Drum roll, number 1. And who else would it be but DeMarcus Milner, from Stanhope Elmore High School, a 6'1", 185-pound cornerback, a Scout.com 5-star recruit, Alabama commitment. Finished the 2008 season with 7 picks, and returned 2 for touchdowns, had 57 total tackles with 33 unassisted, returning 2 punts for touchdowns, to go along with a kickoff return for a touchdown, also rushed for more than 500 yards as a tailback. Talk about Marcus Milner, who's #1 rated in the country.
That's right.
Not just Alabama.
That's right. He's the #1 rated cornerback in the country, and he played cornerback in our 7-on-7 team down in Tampa during the spring. That's the only time he's ever played cornerback. So that just tells you how great he was down there. And we had several scouts, and several of the scouts from Scout.com were there and watching him there, and several of them were like, "That's the best cornerback that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years." So that just tells you how great he is. He's got excellent speed. He's got real good height at 6'1", about 185 pounds right now. He's got a great vertical jump, and he's got great hips. Some people say that he could end up playing safety in college, and he might. But right now we like him as a cornerback. We think that he's a game changer, definitely a game breaker, and he plays offense and defense. Might play some slot receiver at Alabama. Who knows? He's got that speed at a 4.35 40. Well, we timed him at a 4.35 about 2 or 3 times in a row this spring, and he's definitely a big time player for Alabama, and Alabama got his commitment a couple months ago.
Well, that wraps it up here for our video portion of the Alabama Top 50, Alabama's Most Wanted. Scout.com's Andrew Bone in studio with us. Remember to pick up your copy of the Tuscaloosa News on July 4th. Has a breakdown of all 50 top players, as well as some main stories and other elements that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right.